Sometimes the weight we carry isn't on our backs, but in our hearts. Once, in the heart of an ancient forest where sunlight trickled through tall emerald trees and rivers sang lullabies to the earth, there lived a little bird. She was not the brightest in color nor the fastest in flight, but she carried something far rarer: kindness. Her feathers shimmered faintly in the morning sun, and her song could melt even the coldest dawn. But this little bird had a peculiar habit, one that made her unlike any other creature of the forest. Every day, no matter what she felt, saw, or heard, she etched her experiences onto a tiny stone with her beak. If the day brought her joy, she would carve it down. If sorrow found her, she carved that too. If she learned a small lesson from the wind, the rain, or the stars, it would also find a place on a stone. When she finished her carving, she would tuck the stone away into a soft cloth bag tied gently around her tiny body. The bag was her treasure. It was filled with her life, moment by moment, memory by memory. At first, it seemed beautiful. Each evening, she would look at her bag with pride, thinking, "I am not losing a single piece of my life. When I grow old, these stones will remind me of who I was, where I have flown, and what I have felt." Every sunrise, the bag grew heavier, but the bird did not notice. She was too enchanted by the idea of keeping everything, every laugh, every tear, every little breath of time. The days rolled into weeks, and the weeks melted into months. The bird continued to collect her stones faithfully, but as her bag grew heavier, her wings grew weaker. She could not soar as high as she once did. Her swift dives slowed, her elegant flights faltered, and the sky that had once felt like home now seemed distant, almost unreachable. Yet, she never questioned it. She simply thought, "If I can carry all of my life with me, isn't that worth a little struggle?" One golden afternoon, as the leaves turned crimson with the whisper of autumn, the bird met a wise old owl. His feathers were streaked with silver, and his eyes glowed with quiet knowledge of many lifetimes. He watched the little bird flutter clumsily to a branch, her bag swinging heavily beneath her. "What is it that you carry, little one?" the owl asked, his voice deep like the rustling of old trees. The bird smiled, proud of her treasure. "These stones hold my life, every joy, every pain, every lesson, every song. I do not want to lose a single piece of it." The owl tilted his head, studying her carefully. "But tell me, while you carry all your yesterdays, do you still live in today?" The bird paused. She had never thought about it. "Of course I live in today," she said softly, though her voice trembled with doubt. The owl closed his eyes for a moment, as if listening to something far away. Then he opened them again and said, "Be careful, little bird. A life too heavy with the past may never reach the future." The bird laughed nervously, thanking him for his advice, but deep down she dismissed it. She thought, "He does not understand. These stones are my story, my truth. Without them, I am incomplete." And so she flew away, though not as freely as before. Days turned darker, nights colder. The bag bulged with stones, and soon it seemed heavier than the bird herself. She no longer flew for joy, but only out of necessity. Every time she tried to rise higher, the weight dragged her down. The clouds that once welcomed her now seemed impossible to reach. The forest began to notice. The squirrels saw her stumble between branches. The deer saw her rest more often on the grass instead of the sky. Even the streams, where she once danced in reflection, now watched her land breathlessly beside them. Still, she kept carving and collecting. Happiness, sorrow, fear, excitement, everything went into the bag. Then came a stormy night. The sky roared with thunder, and rain fell like silver needles piercing the earth. The little bird, desperate to reach shelter, tried to fly across the forest. Her wings flapped furiously, but the stones clanged and pressed against her fragile body. The harder she tried, the heavier she felt. And then it happened. Her wings gave way. She tumbled through the storm, crashing into the mud below. The bag spilled open, scattering her stones into the rain. Each stone rolled across the earth, her joys, her pains, her lessons, all lying there, cold and heavy, like a burden finally revealed. The bird lay still, exhausted, unable to rise. Her feathers were soaked, her chest weak. The very memories she thought would keep her alive had crushed her spirit. That night, when the forest grew quiet again, the owl returned. He landed beside the broken little bird, his eyes shimmering with sadness. He looked at the scattered stones and whispered, "Memories are not meant to be chains. They are meant to be stars, guides in the night, not weights on your wings." The little bird blinked weakly, her heart aching with realization. She had carried everything because she was afraid of forgetting. She had believed that holding on was the same as living. But now, as she lay beneath the crushing weight of her own past, she understood the owl's words. Life was not about carrying everything. It was about letting go enough to keep flying. The dawn came softly the next morning. The rain had washed the forest clean, and sunlight kissed the earth with gentle warmth. The stones were still there, scattered across the ground, but the little bird no longer clung to them. She took a deep breath, closed her eyes, and whispered, "I will remember, but I will not carry." And with that she spread her tired wings. They were weak, but they were lighter now. With each beat, she rose a little higher, until once again she touched the sky. From that day on, the bird sang a new song, one not of memories chained in stone, but of freedom, forgiveness, and the beauty of today. She still remembered her past, but she did not let it weigh her down. She let it guide her, like stars in the night sky, while she flew toward her future with a lighter heart. And so, the forest learned her lesson too. The deer no longer clung to fears of yesterday's hunt. The streams no longer mourned the trees that had fallen. Even the wind whispered differently, soft, fresh, always moving forward. Because the truth is this: if we clutch our past too tightly, our present slips away. And if we drown in yesterday, we may never see tomorrow. So, dear listener, remember the little bird. Remember her bag of stones. And remember that life is not meant to be a burden. It is meant to be lived, lightly, freely, gratefully. Forgive, forget, let go, because only then can we truly fly.